I don't really have a specific method, but it happens along the way. The photography should not be about some final picture to chase the picture, but to take what's happening actually on the road. Now currently when I go, I don't really plan that much like where to go. Just I pick some destination. I know like some places that are very crowded always, like usual markets or main squares, tourist areas which are always busy with activities, and just not to have any specific picture in mind, just to go and see what happens.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of Eyeshot 50mm. We are here today at Magazzino Arti Sceniche in Bologna with Jozef Macak, winner of second place of the singles category of Eyeshot Open Call 2025, as well as being a finalist with his series Tides of Life in the series category. So his narratives blend instinct and travel. So because he's been around the world a lot and one of his passions is travel. So welcome Jozef to Eyeshot 50mm.
Thank you for having me here.
Cool. Let's get started with the toughest question that we ask all of our guests. Who is Jozef Macak according to Jozef Macak?
According to Jozef Macak?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a travel photographer, as you mentioned. About 10 years ago, I realized that I really love traveling, and as I was traveling, I decided that probably I should take some pictures when I do. And as it was continuing on and on, then I kept on improving, somehow trying to find better ways. Actually, there were some photographs, probably everyone knows Steve McCurry, so that was a big influence for me. And yeah, probably his pictures were the ones which pushed me towards this direction.
Okay, and was there a specific moment when you were photographing specifically that made you think that photography was going to be one of your forms of expression?
Trying to think, because it was a really long time ago when I started this. It was around 2015 maybe, like when I went to India first time. So maybe this time actually, when I arrived to India and I witnessed all of this, like it was one of my first real travels. Where, you know, like maybe it was a tough choice to go to India, because if you've been there probably, and
not yet, but I've heard many tales.
Many tales, yeah, and they are right, yeah. So India is just amazing, colorful country. That probably was the place where I decided that I want to pursue this. So, because you see like all of it happening there, like the crazy culture, all the colors, like all the people in the streets, so many things happening, sometimes a bit too many, can get overwhelming very easily, but probably India was the place where I decided that this is what I want to do. So that's, but as I was there, actually, I was there like 3 months and I didn't really brought many good pictures somehow, and that's what was probably what ignited me, because before I saw those amazing pictures from Steve McCurry, and I thought that okay, I will just come to India and it's gonna go on its own, but it does not. Yeah, you need to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And as I came there, I did not know what I'm doing, so I was just trying, and like in these 3 months, a part of a lot of medical issues, I just brought maybe 10 pictures. Which now I would consider good ones. So that's when I decided, yeah, I need to learn, I need to somehow push through, and I need to find some way to improve, to make it better next time. So, but that was probably, it was a bit of a struggle actually. It was good, but it was a little bit of a failure, because, you know, you go somewhere for 3 months and you don't really bring much except for like all kind of illnesses.
Yeah, oh God.
So,
yeah. Because you're not used to different environments. It happens
it was.
everywhere in the world. It happens with travel
It
in
was the
general.
first time, and it was the craziest place because
Yeah.
back then, now India is much better these days. I came there a couple of times.
Yeah, I can imagine. But that's a great answer. So that's what we were looking for when I asked you this. So, speaking of places, your background, the places where you have grown up in, did they influence your eye? Was there something about your day-to-day life that trained your eye for photography?
I don't really think so. The thing is that I always liked photography, but I was never really that much into doing it on my own. But I do remember as when I was a kid, then every time I kind of got a camera in my hands, like I felt something weird, something special. But it took many years until I got to it. But I remember this from it was, like back then it was quite not so cheap actually. You had to process, you had to film and everything. So my parents always had for a holiday 36 pictures. So you will not give it to the kids to waste them or whatever, or I don't know, 2-3 rolls of film. So they were shooting. But I remember this, or when my uncle had this kind of this nice camera, and I remember this feeling like it was really one of those, this Praktika, if you know this, East German.
A German brand?
Yes.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Yeah, it was like the East Block Lake actually. So
okay.
well, let's say the better one. Yeah, there was the Zenit from the Russians and Leica and Praktika from East Germany. So and it was really a nice one. So I remember this moment holding this in my hand. Was I felt like, oh, this is something special. But it took many years until I kind of got into this. But I always liked looking at the nice pictures, and I always caught my eye. But there was always something, but it took a long time until it processed itself. I think it was really together with the traveling, where I maybe reignited these things from the past, and then it kind of clicked, and I realized that this is what I love to do.
Okay. And you're self-taught, right?
Yes. No background from school about photography or any arts. Unfortunately, I studied completely something different, computer science, which is like a very opposite thing to it.
But it can come in handy somehow with the hardware. So
it is, like in a way, a computer code is also a piece of art. Like that's. Maybe for somebody who doesn't know, it is just a bunch of numbers and everything, but it's very complicated, and it's, in the end, when you make the code right, it kind of is a sort of an art for a programmer. If he sees a really good code, it is a bit of an artwork, and it's something completely different. And currently for me, it's something like these two things, very different, somehow complement each other, because the very cold automatic code compared to something extremely lively, it kind of equals itself out. So it can.
Left brain and right brain, you have it all. So yeah. And you being self-taught, what did it teach you about photography? What did you learn by having to learn by yourself?
It was not easy actually to get where I wanted to go, because if you're self-taught, then you just follow something that you see. I took a long way. Actually, I started with landscapes or so, something easy. Then I had a glimpse of street photography, but very a short one. But I was continuing mostly this kind of. Then I went through the travel photography a bit more, but in a way this not so very plain somehow, just like an exotic looking person with not much happening there. Then I went through this phase where you, instead of focusing on what's happening on the road, I was focused more on the final picture. So very often I saw some pictures of, like maybe like in China, there's this cormorant fisherman.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, this looks cool. So I went to Xiapu actually, which is complete crazy remote place there in China, just to realize that it's not real photography. Those fishermen are still there, but they are just fishing for photographers now. So it's, like we maybe saw these pictures, like this beautiful setting with the hills there, and there's the cormorant fishermen, but it's not real. So I came there and realized that no, this is not happening anymore. So I was
kind of a tourist trap.
Yeah,
now.
it was like a tourist trap. So very often I came to realize that it's not the good approach actually to like see something interesting and then go and make similar picture or something like that. So that was like the going this my own way. Maybe it's not so easy. So
thank you for sharing your self-taught experience.
Yeah, and then but it was a long way until I got where I wanted to. So, but I got there. But in the end, it's like a good feeling that after a long time, you figure out. I always had this feeling like to go this way. Like the photography should not be about some final picture to chase the picture, but to take what's happening actually on the road. Not really the final. Like I need this kind of picture. But it's photography. I came to realize that the best pictures are what's happening on the road. So now currently when I go, I don't really plan that much like where to go. I pick some destination. I know like some places that are very crowded always, like these usual markets, or I don't know, main squares, like tourist areas which are always busy with activities. And just not to have any specific picture in mind, just to go and see what happens.
That's a great philosophy, so thank you.
Yeah, I also have to say that big help was workshop from Maciej Dakovic, if you know the photographer, and he makes really amazing pictures. So anyone who struggles a bit, who should maybe join some sort of workshop or some street photographer, and they know how to lead you, how to show you the way. So
yeah, that's a very good strategy. Okay, speaking of inspirations and mentors, you already listed a couple of them. Are there any other photographers, even that you never met, or photographers from back then, or photographers who aren't super famous, who are like masters to you?
Speaking of the influence, actually, there's obviously the masters of street photography, like Alex Webb, or you can continue like that. But there's like the biggest influence were probably the people that I met in the streets, like mainly on those workshops, and then later just randomly, sometimes really randomly, in the streets, taking pictures, and it's like. They already are like quite known. Maybe Anna Biret, I think she has a couple of pictures here.
She's featured in the exhibition as well. She's a finalist, and she's also part of our selection for No Man's Land, our first all-women magazine. So we know her.
Yeah, you know her. So she's for example one of the influencers. I met her on Maciej's workshop.
Yeah,
and she's a very nice lady, and she takes always great pictures. Actually, that was the big influence on these workshops, seeing the people who are already experienced, because you see their pictures there, and okay, you are there, you're learning from them, and then you're improving yourself. So then there's many of them, like David Keith Brown, maybe you know. There's Mark Thomas, a very good friend from Australia, who should post more to the competition. So probably it's one of these. Yeah, it's like some of the people are like less known and they're really good, but they don't post much to the competitions or don't promote themselves that much. But probably it was the people from this exhibit, from these workshops, like Maud Bardet, for example. She won many competitions. And yeah, and also Instagram is full of people who follow like.
Okay, yeah, but social media is very, very full of talent. So that's also sometimes how Eyeshot finds their next authors. So social media is a very, very valid place to look for talent. And I would like instead to talk a bit about your methods, because you said that you don't plan much or you don't want specific pictures, but you find stories, happenings. Do you have any specific method that you follow to search for these stories in the places that you go?
I don't really have a specific method, but it happens along the way. Very often, like, okay, I'm in some place for a day or 2 or 3, and it's a good way to always go through the pictures every day, although it's not always easy because you get tired and, okay, you just want to rest, but it's good to go through the pictures, and in a couple of days you realize, okay, I have some very similar pictures from this, and this area was really nice and very interesting, and as days go by, if you stay longer in a country or a place, then you can find a pattern in something that I'm getting a lot around the river life, for example, as I did the series in here.
Yeah,
so
we'll get to it later, so
Yeah,
we would
so
like to know about it.
this way, like, okay, I realized, okay, I did good pictures there, so then maybe I come back actually and shoot more there, or even one more time, or I stay there for a couple of days. So it always, like, if I continue seeing that, okay, I get more of this, then I return there. But there's also a way, like, okay, I started, let's say that I have a couple of favorite pictures, which, for example, is like an interaction between a person and some wall poster. So
Okay.
I have like this in mind. Always when I see some poster, I see like, okay, somebody fitting into the story. It can be like an ongoing project in my head. So it's not something that I follow specifically, but they keep on adding, like, as I go, then, okay, I get more of the, okay, this is crazy interaction with the poster or anything. And these pictures then somehow pile up even from different places. But the main approach is really, it's good to go through the picture every day as you are somewhere, then you can finish the story.
Okay, that makes so much sense as a method. And I would like to talk about subjects as well, because you've also included animals in some of your stories. How did you find them what did you find about them while portraying them? How were they interacting with a world that isn't fit for them right now?
I mean, animals in the street, yes, sort of. That's one of these ongoing things that I realized, okay, I have quite a lot of these pictures of animals in the street, so every time I see an animal, then, okay, I get it in my head, maybe I'll get a new picture with the animal. So it's like like especially in the countries in Asia or less developed countries, it's much more common for the street animals just to, like in monkeys in India, they live like everywhere. So, and the dogs, stray dogs, and they're part of the city, they're part of the life there, so they're like for me it's like a visually interesting to capture also their life, because okay, they are also living beings there. The city is also their home, and I find it like an interesting story to tell, the story of the street animal lives. So it also happened on the way, and I made it like a little project for me to gather the animal street life.
That's very thoughtful, so thank you for sharing. Okay, so when it comes to travel photography, there's always a risk, and that risk is being a tourist. Because traveling is also about being a tourist. There are entire photography books about tourists. And how do you balance being a tourist, so enjoying the places you're going, with being an active observer. Do you think these roles can overlap, intertwine, and how so?
Yeah, I think that definitely it's probably about one's approach, but I kind of combine these two things. Yeah, I'm a different kind of tourist. I'm not really going for the, like, let's say, the nice places, or like say castles, or I don't know, some fortresses also. Although there can be also very nice setting, because you get the local tourists there to have them together and to have the fortress like a background or something. But let's say I'm not a typical tourist who goes to the typical places. I often go to more like a very normal street is the main setting for me. So I try to find unordinary things in an ordinary place, let's say that, because most of my actually favorite pictures happen in a very ordinary setting. Like, for example, the winning picture here, it's just a very ordinary street in Cebu in Philippines, just close to the main market, just a side street of a market. It's very busy, but it's like these kind of places are the best place to get some good picture. Very ordinary yet busy. Yeah, this is my style of traveling now. Actually, I think I don't really consider myself tourist that much anymore.
Okay.
Mostly when I travel like this, it's on the purpose of photography. So I'm not really looking at myself as a tourist that much, actually. Yet I know for the locals, I'm a tourist. Yet I kind of use this to my advantage because I'm a foreigner somewhere. So people see like, okay, foreigner with a camera is like some touristic. Although they are quite surprised very often, like, why are you here in a slum, for example, let's say. So they get sometimes quite surprised, but very often they are like nicely surprised because okay, somebody came there, is interested to see them, and it's kind of a little bit different. It's not a typical tourist.
Okay. And what's your starter pack to be comfortable while traveling and photographing?
Just have my camera, my backpack. And that's probably all I need.
Yeah, so everything you need in a single backpack.
Yeah. It's good to have a bit of a plan somehow to check the city where you're going. Sometimes it's not always like, especially with me, because very often it happens that I just plan to go, like, for example, this last trip last year.
Yeah.
My plan was to go for 2 weeks to Georgia. And then come back, and it ended up being a 4 months travel through Asia. Yeah, it's not always easy, but as time goes, you learn where to go, and you can, and if you have good photography friends, sometimes ask them maybe like if they were in, like for example in Philippines, like the shot which I took, this friend of mine, Mark Thomas, told me some of the places which are interesting, and actually the picture which I took in a place which was like an area recommended to go there. So it's this, having a sort of plan is good. One learns throughout the years, like you get your second sense where to go, where you get some action to see, to photograph. But it's good to have a bit of a preparation.
Absolutely. And speaking of plans, because we're getting to a question I've been meaning to ask, how do you manage the language barrier when you go to places where you can't even read the signs?
Yeah, this is like the locals very often just know 3 questions. What is your name? Where are you from? And how are you? And they ask you like 100 times every day when they see a foreigner, and they will ask you, like in countries like Bangladesh or Pakistan, where it's not so common to see a foreigner, like everybody shouts at you from across the street, like, what's your name? And you reply this every day like 100 times, so it gets, they try to talk with you, but if they don't speak proper English, then it's not so easy, and well, you don't speak Hindi, for example. So it's not so easy, but also I don't see this as a barrier somehow. Like
Okay.
it depends on the people mostly. People are very nice in these countries that I travel mostly.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody who speaks English and talks to you. And like for example, in Pakistan, there was a lot of people very interested in when there's somebody there.
Yeah.
They come like every day, a lot of talk from the locals. But I generally don't see that much as a barrier. It can be like if you're looking for directions or want to get somewhere, it can be complicated, but you know, like there's always somebody who speaks English.
Yeah.
Unless you're in China, because there's very, very little English.
And how did you manage in China, since there was this added level of difficulty?
Yeah, that was really bad there actually. I realized there that I learned that it's good thing to have some paper written. But actually at the hotel I learned that I should ask the hotel staff to write me down like some instruction where I want to get or some really basic things. That helped a lot there because nobody speaks English there at all. And having some sort of instructions like city where I go or like I want to take a bus to this and that, and I just came to the bus station and show it.
Flashcard. So you gotta have the flashcards.
Yeah, and translator, obviously now, it was a long time ago. Back then, actually, I didn't even have a translator. That was like 10 years ago. But now, obviously, the mobile with a translator helps a lot. So,
I mean, the flashcards are useful in case you go somewhere with no service. That's what I'm thinking of. Because even here in Italy, if you go to smaller towns, especially in the countryside or in the mountains, service might not help you. So I was looking for some tip or trick for when you don't have service.
This would be like in a country like China, have it written down. If you, because there it can happen really also like that you don't have internet. So
absolutely.
So this is like a little thing that I use there a lot.
A little life hack, travel hack.
Yes.
So I would like to talk about Moan, which is the image that won second place in the singles category for Eyeshot Open Call 2025. And when you look at a picture like that, so layered, so full, how do you know that it's going to be one of your key pictures?
You don't know. Actually, well, let's say I did not know at that moment, because at the first moment, it was not layered. It was very simple. Actually, the first thing I saw and which I photographed were the spread legs on the balcony. That's what caught my eye because it was funny somehow. Like, so I was just under the balcony. I was like, okay, this looks funny. So I just took the picture of that, and it felt like, it could be more. Like it's not enough somehow. On its own, it was funny and interesting, but it's like, let's add. That's what I learned throughout the time. It's good to look for something more, because a lot of people, what they do, they just see something interesting and they take the picture of it and it's done. Like it's enough. But you can make more actually. If you look around, like you can sometimes find something more and even more, and it's really good just not to stop when you have a good picture, just to look if it's something more happening, if you could include something more. And this is what happened there. So I had this and I was like, this somehow is funny, but it's not enough. So I kind of looked around, so they were just a family there, the person, the guy with the child there. So obviously let's include them. I took a step back. They were just playing around there, and then I was like, it could be still more. And then I realized that like behind me there was the lady. She was sitting on a motorbike, just holding the reflection, the mirror. And I was like, because mirrors sometimes work. And I was like, let's step back. And she was really in a good angle. She didn't realize she's in a picture.
Because you can always see the reflection of
she was just sitting there watching me actually as I take the other pictures. And I came back and she aligned nicely into the mirror.
Absolutely.
And I looked around like, okay, for the composition to have the lines nicely, and I saw, okay, there's also the poster on the upper right, so I have more. I realized like every step I took, I got something a little bit more there. So suddenly then I had the reflection, and then I just had the empty right corner. So then I was just basically waiting for somebody to fill the corner, and let's say I worked through to the final image. It was not layered in the beginning, but I kind of made it. It happened. It revealed on itself, but I had to work a bit around it. So
you added layers to the pictures.
That's
another project that was selected as a finalist is Tides of Life. Would you like to tell us how this project was born?
Oh, this one was born actually in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, in the Buriganga River area, which is like a very, very lively and interesting area. Like there's like a lot of life happens around this river, and it's like a lifeline through the center. Like there's like this big shipyard, repair shipyard, where it's like you can just enter there as a foreigner. That's quite crazy, because realizing this, you just go into, there's a huge ships, you can just go under their ship actually, and they are just, there's not many security measures there. Actually, there's none of them. And they don't really care that much, like if some foreigner goes there, and security is not a big big thing around there, but like a lot of things is happening there. So this was the one place that caught my eyes, like, okay, there's a lot of interesting pictures there, it's connected to the river. And that was like the approach that I mentioned before, that I realized, okay, I have some good pictures there. And then I took some other pictures around the river area, which were a little bit different. It was more like a daily life, or then the ferry life in the ferries. There was like this shower scene there, which is just outside of the, just the back of the ferry, which is like a very improvised shower area. So I realized, like, okay, these pictures kind of work together. So I came there. Actually, some of the pictures were done on the first visit, and some of them were done on the second visit to Bangladesh. So actually, after revisiting, it was like 1 year later. I realized, I have pictures from the river, and I could have some more of them. So I filled the story 1 year later with some additional pictures, which play a big role in the story there.
And what did you find out while you were there that really, really stuck with you? What did you find out about the daily lives of the fishermen and the people who take care of the ships?
It's tough life, obviously, so it's not easy. In these countries, like you see this a lot, like life is really tough, but sometimes I have the impression sometimes they live a kind of more happy life than we do in Western countries. But in general, they're very nice people, very welcoming, and they are very fine with taking their pictures. The area of river is obviously for them their life being, like either they work in this construction of the ships or ship repair, or they do fishing, or they do, or the water is somehow a commodity needed somehow for work, for some construction or anything. It's like a centerpiece of their life. Like their whole life winds around the river. So it's for them their home and their life, basically. So it's very important. Yet it's very tough for the river life somehow, because it's like the environmental neglect is there, the water is dirty, and I'm not really sure if the measures taken to protect the river are enough there. So it's like it was like interesting to see this interaction between people and the river there. Yet the story is also a bit about how the river is suffering from the neglect.
Yeah, that's a very high toll that the river takes for
Human
people
activity.
just trying to survive.
Yes,
that's it.
Yeah, but in this kind of area, it's really not so easy to take the environmental concerns, because a lot of the people are living like very basic lives, and it's about their survival. So
yeah, absolutely,
it's not easy. I'm pretty sure there's measures taken so it doesn't get like over polluted. They're trying to make
they're
it.
absolutely trying. They're doing their best. And what were the main challenges for you as a photographer for this project?
Main challenges were like, okay, not to get crushed by a ship.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Because sometimes the ship are like this huge ship, and you go under it, and then you realize that it's just held by a piece of wood, which has a couple of other pieces of wood there, and you realize, okay, this is like I don't know, 50 tons, and they hold just a piece of wood, and I'm just standing under it, and okay, this could crash anytime.
Yeah, bit scary. Bit scary.
It's like I was thinking I must be mad to stand under this, but I'm like they know what they're doing. They're here all the time.
And
so
you're here, so
I'm here. I survived. So and they live like this every day. So yeah, but in general, I felt kind of safe. Maybe I shouldn't be feeling so safe, because it's like I met some local photographer there, and when I told him that I'm just wandering around Bangladesh on my own for 1 month, then he just rolled his eyes that, are you crazy?
Yeah. Oh, I can tell, because they know what happens, and sometimes as an outsider you have the little bit of carelessness that actually helps in projects like yours, but it can be really dangerous.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I realize it, but maybe my sense of the danger is maybe I'm underestimating it. I know I am underestimating it heavily. So it really happens a lot. Like, for example, this loading base in Dhaka. I met some people just outside as I was going there, so they might have been some local middle class, and they were like telling me, why are you going there? That's dangerous there. It's like, but I didn't really feel that much danger. So, because it's this very rough area where the ships are being offloaded. There was like a picture with where you can see the silhouettes of the people. But I didn't really feel that unsafe. So maybe it's like it's like you cannot really think that much about this when you do this. Although it's like maybe I should
just a little bit more, so no one gets hurt.
A little bit more. Yes.
Just pay a little bit more attention. But what is it that attracts you about these extreme conditions?
Maybe the extreme conditions on their own.
Yeah.
So it's thrilling actually sometimes, like especially on my own. Like when we were there a group with Maciej's group in Dhaka, then it was kind of like, okay, we are in a group like always, like with three, although I tend to wander off on my own, like I always do. But like when you're on your own, that it's really like quite thrilling. So I kind of like this on my own. So it's probably some sort of adrenaline for me. And I tend to like try the local things. Like, for example, as those people who are carrying
the salt or the baskets.
coal or whatever
The coal. Yeah.
Sometimes it's coal, sometimes it's sand or whatever they are offloading. So I put my camera away and I took it. And I wanted to try it, so I did that on my own, and I like to try that. I just don't want to be only an observer. I really like to try, because I photograph it there, and then somehow they see that I want to see how it is, I want to try it, so they don't feel so alienated or something by me taking the pictures. Then when they see that I'm generally really interested in how it is actually, so I'm not just parasiting on them, so I really want to know, and I'm trying it. And like, for example, in Bangladesh, you maybe seen these overcrowded trains.
The trains. It's we have them in so many pictures. So
there's often like photographers, they come there to this, it's Longi, I think the area is known, where there's this big Muslim gathering. So the photographers come there during the night. But they come there and just wait there and take the pictures. But I went on the rooftop, so I went with the people there. So I came there on the rooftop with the rest of the locals. So I like to somehow blend in. And they are really happy to. They were so happy to take me up on the rooftop. The police was not so happy. They were like, okay, just taking pictures of the people who helped me up. So probably probably they would get in troubles if something would happen to me. But they were really not really
and nothing happened, so you could take all the pictures that you wanted. All's well, but
and it was really amazing experience to take the ride on the rooftop of an overcrowded Bangladesh.
And you have to take these risks sometimes. So it's okay to be careful, but it's also okay to take risks.
Yeah, well, I don't have to ride a rooftop, but I like to. I like this thrill more. So.
No, it's a very, very interesting take. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so I would like to dive into Eyeshot Open Call 2025 a little bit, and you had a double achievement. So second place in the singles and a series as a finalist. How did you feel for this double achievement?
Well, I felt grateful and honored, obviously, because Eyeshot is a big name in street photography. It's one of the most respected platforms, I would say, with an amazing prints. You print a lot of great books, and I have some of them, and it was really big surprise for me, and I was very honored.
Okay, with over 20,000 submissions from all over the world, how did it feel to be chosen in such a competitive environment? So how did you select the work that you submitted, knowing that it's a very popular contest?
Yeah, well, I submitted this picture, the winning picture. It was kind of an obvious choice, which like I knew immediately when I had the final picture that this one is good, so this one is for the competitions. Although actually it took me, I started with street photography in 2019, and probably this is the first year that I started sending pictures to competitions. So during this year I submitted several, but
But you started this year?
This year, yes. I finally, because it took me actually, I was a bit of a herder there with the pictures, because I was traveling a lot, taking a lot of pictures. There was one 6-month trip during Asia, and during which I took many pictures, and then it took me like 2 years to go through everything and to sort it, and I still don't have half of the pictures from last year 4 months trip sorted. So I was just herding everything, and this year I finally managed to get into some state when I organized quite a big bunch of it, and I finally started sending pictures to competitions and posting more actually on Instagram and other platforms. So this is one of the first ones actually which I submitted. So it was really great feeling that actually the first year I started, I'm getting this kind of recognition. So it was really amazing, especially as you said, with 20,000 submissions. It's a big honor, definitely, for me to.
Must have felt great, and knowing that even though you've been photographing for 10 years, this was your first year for contests.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. So we are very, very excited.
Like street photography is like last 5 years or so.
Okay. So when it comes to contests in general and the visibility that they give to lesser known or people who are just getting started or younger voices in photography, how do you think these opportunities help people grow, and how can they change the destiny of certain photographic projects like yours?
Yeah, they certainly boost morale, or how would you call it? Like you get hunger for more. So obviously, when you get some recognition, you want to keep up with this. So I certainly definitely feel like shooting more, continuing more. So that's one thing, that it helps you helps you wanting more, to try more, and definitely you get more visibility. Like for example, in social platforms, you get more got more followers. Like it helps a lot. So and it feels nice, like to get this kind of recognition.
Yeah. And when it comes to community building, how has this contest helped you?
Yeah, it's great to come here, this is the same thing. Like this year was the first time I came to this kind of exhibitions. So even if not winning, like I came to Rome also last week. I met a lot of photographers. I knew a couple of them were there, like Moan. So we know each other for a long time. It was nice to meet her, or Burkelli, and. It's a very nice place to visit, like to talk to people with the same interests, and you get to learn more people, you get more contacts, and definitely they also learn about you. So it's very interesting. It's very thoughtful thing to do, and it's very easy, like for me, just to get on a plane from Vienna, and in 1 hour I'm here. Actually, I could go just for one day visit. So it's a perfect thing to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Jozef, for being with us today. And I want to leave a little message to our viewers to keep supporting, keep subscribing, keep liking, keep commenting, and help us keep street photography alive. By supporting us, you're supporting independent photography, independent publishing, independent made in Italy arts and craftsmanship, and keep an eye on us for more interviews, and see you next time. See you next episode. Thank you for watching, and bye.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you for everything you do. You do a really good job in promoting street photography and doing the books and everything what you do. And thanks for this great competition, and thanks for the win and for having me here.
Thank you. And see you next time.